10 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, August 29th, 2021, and we are monitoring Hurricane Ida that is hitting Louisiana on the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. It's been a lot taking place these past few days, a lot taking place this weekend. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. Dr. Avis Jones, the Weaver, was sitting in for Roland at first. They told us, his producer told me on Monday that they weren't going to have panelists on Friday. Then I got a text message on Friday morning asking could I be on the show Friday afternoon at 6. So I said, okay, I'll make it happen. So we had a good show. Now, I'm going to share an excerpt of Roland Martin Unfiltered on today's show. There was a topic that we discussed. This video has gone, this topic has gone viral. This deals with a high school in California, Salinas High School in California, where a student during a football game, this took place on Friday, August 20th. During this football game, a number of white students abused, beat up, and ran over an African-American baby doll. They put this video of them abusing this doll on social media. They had the doll in sexual positions and abusing this African-American doll. They named the doll Shaniqua. Now, this has caused, rightfully so, outrage in the community. There was a meeting that was held with parents and administrators earlier this week. And parents were expressing their outrage. Now, the 3 students have been suspended. 3 students suspended for racist acts at Salinas High School football jamboree. This story has gone national. We talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. I took this as a historian and as somebody who's been studying media for 30 years and has been warning our people about the propaganda of the media, who's been talking about negative corporate controlled hip hop for 30 years and understanding, having a background in marketing and sales and understanding messaging. So when they came to me on the panel to discuss this, I dealt with a history of dehumanization of African people in this country and how the dehumanization of African people in this country has always been entertainment. Because when you look at the reports and the still photos and things like this, these white students are laughing at brutalizing and putting this doll into sexual positions and running over the doll with a car. They're laughing at this. So I connected this to R. Kelly, and I connected this to negative corporate controlled hip hop and the song and music video WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Because you only protect what you respect. And as I said before, if you watch my videos dealing with WAP, you watch the panel discussion I did with some African-American sisters dealing with the film, with the song and the sexually explicit lyrics and the video. I said, white people will only allow Negroes to do something like this because this is how they think of us. And when you look at the history of lynchings in the my online class that I teach, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968, we just dealt with the Clinton, Mississippi race riot. We've talked about we're going to talk about the Ocoee race riot in 1920. We talked about the Vicksburg massacre. That was around Vicksburg was about 1874. Clinton, Mississippi race riot, 1875, dealing with voting rights. We've dealt with these different massacres, but when you deal with the lynchings, you see the mutilation of African American men and sometimes African American women. So when if we go study the lynchings that took place, they did to African American human beings what these white students did to this doll. They did to African American human beings during lynchings what these white students did to this black baby doll. As I said before, people think the images that we see are just entertainment, and the shows and the songs are just entertainment. No, they're programming. They're programming. Whatever is disseminated becomes imitated. Your thoughts create feelings. Your feelings create actions and behaviors. Your actions and behaviors create results. So I'm gonna share that segment. Now there was KSBW Channel 8 in Salinas, California. They did a story on this. We're gonna share that. Then we're gonna share the segment from Roland Martin Unfiltered. Roland wasn't there to unpack the topic, so I was. So that's what I did. Then we know that August 28th was the 58th anniversary of the March on Washington. Okay, 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. I was watching the coverage of it and interviews and things like this. We're going to talk some about that. We know it was the March for Jobs and Justice, Jobs and Freedom, and Jobs and Justice. August 28th, 1963. Now, so many people watching the coverage in the mainstream media, they're talking about this is where Dr. King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. So I watched the coverage on MSNBC and I watched Alex Witt and things like that. Very few people said that, number one, the name of well, first of all, this past weekend, I didn't hear anybody say the name of the speech originally was not I Have a Dream. The phrase I have a dream didn't appear in any of the drafts of the speech. The speech was not about a dream. The original name of the speech was called Normalcy Never Again. Normalcy Never Again. Then the name of the speech was changed to A Canceled Check because Dr. King was talking about holding America accountable for a promissory note they gave us 100 years prior in 1863. And we took that promissory note to the bank. It was marked insufficient funds. He's talking about the promise that this country made to African Americans. And he's talking about holding America accountable to the promise made to us. Holding America accountable to what the U.S. Constitution says. The speech was not about a dream. What they want to do is distract us with a dream to keep us dreaming. The speech was about dismantling white supremacy and racism. When Dr. King talks about the beloved community, that's after you have dismantled white supremacy and racism. That's not focusing on holding hands with white people and singing songs. That's no. He's when in the speech he talks about he denounces police brutality. He denounces racism and discrimination and poverty. He talks about African Americans having to move from a smaller ghetto to a larger ghetto. He talks about we can't stop while the Negro in the South can't vote and the Negro in New York feels he has nothing to vote for. He goes through step by step and calls out these injustices. The speech is not about a dream. Mahalia Jackson yells out, "Tell him about the dream, Martin, tell him about the dream." So then he shifts to a speech that he gave a few months earlier in Detroit and starts talking about the dream, the beloved community. But that's after you dismantle white supremacy and racism. The speech was 16 minutes and some change. He was supposed to speak 4.5 minutes. Majority of the speech he spoke extemporaneously. He was the last speaker. The speech when he gave it wasn't even a big speech back then. It was late. It was years later that it became a big speech. They keep trying to distract us with the dream, but don't want to deal with dismantling white supremacy and racism, which is what Dr. King was talking about. He's talking about dismantling white supremacy and racism. So they keep talking about his I Have a Dream speech, but don't tell you what he was talking about in the speech. So I got a different take on 58 years later. Because, and we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. So that segment where we talk about the 58th anniversary of the March on Washington, we'll share that on Monday, because I got to go through and kind of edit these segments. There's so much work. I had to teach 2 online classes this weekend. And then where'd I go? Oh, Steve Hood. I was at Steve Hood's funeral Saturday morning, early Saturday afternoon. Okay. Political consultant, talk show host, everybody, my friend Steve Hood. I was at his funeral. Then I had to come home and teach an online course on Saturday. Then when I got finished teaching the online course, my man Taki Grant, director of the film Hot P, called me because he wants me to moderate a panel discussion. We're going to have a screening of the documentary Hot P. Professor James Small is in the documentary, and Dr. Julian Malveaux and Dr. Wade Noble. It's a lot of people. Tony Browd is in the documentary Hot P, which deals with economic empowerment for African Americans. It's a Hot P tour coming to Detroit. There's going to be a screening and discussion Sunday, September 26, 2021, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. I'll be the moderator of a panel discussion. We're going to see if we can. We'll see if we can get one of the people besides Taki who are in the film on the panel. We're putting that together now. So Taki called me. Then I checked Facebook, and I saw that there was a blue and white picnic at Chandler Park, and nobody told your boy. Nobody told me. Okay, my soror, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Renee Lafitte. She had it post. She was posting pictures on her Facebook page. So I hit her up. I'm like, where's this taking place? Nobody told me. So then I shout out to Chandler Park to be with my frat brothers and our sorors, the Zetas. So I've been a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated 31 years, pledged at Wayne State University, Gamma Iota chapter. Y'all need to hit me up. Let me know about this stuff. You know, some people who I thought would have told me ain't tell me, but that's another story. So I did that. And then I had to get ready for today's show and today's class. I had to teach a class today at 2:00. I had to teach a class, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school, and then get ready for today's show. So we're going to talk a little bit today about the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington and what they're fighting for today. I'm going to share a interview from 1993 that James Farmer, who used to head up CORE, used to be the head of CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, and Wyatt T. Walker, who was with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and Dr. King. In 1963, June 1963, there was a famous debate that they did with Malcolm X. It's on YouTube. It was on a TV show called Open Lines. And I think the host name was Richard Hefner. Is a famous debate. 30 years later, the two men who were still alive, James Farmer and Wyatt T. Walker, they met with the moderator, Richard Hefner, to discuss what has happened in the past 30 years and after the civil rights movement, etc. And Wyatt T. Walker talked about how Malcolm X had the most accurate analysis of what was going on back at the time, back in the 60s. Okay, we're going to talk about that. And James Farmer talks about how naive they were and how they thought that they were on the verge of defeating racism. They meant well, but what they realized was how deeply ingrained into institutions and into America and into the system racism is. Not a feeling. Bigotry and racism are two different things. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, which comes out of the ideology of European white supremacy. Okay, so we'll share that with you. Then August 27th, August 28th, 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. Well, August 27th was the anniversary of Axe Handle Saturday. You ever heard of Axe Handle Saturday in 1960? Okay, in Florida, on Axe Handle Saturday, now I've talked about this here on the show before, there was a peaceful sit-in at a whites-only restaurant in Jacksonville, Florida. Civil rights activists were sitting in trying to destroy segregation, and this resulted in an attack by a mob of 200 white people armed with baseball bats and axe handles. It's called Axe Handle Saturday. Okay, and the Klan was supplying them with baseball bats and axe handles. That was August 27th, 1960. So now August 27th also was the anniversary of the death of Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, and Dr. W.B. Du Bois. Dr. W.B. Du Bois died the day before the March on Washington in Ghana, August 27th. But August 27th, 1960 was Axe Handle Saturday. Okay, so we've got to talk about that as well. We'll deal with all this on today's episode of the African History Network Show. Listen to the African History Network Show right here on 910 a.m. Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world, bringing our people together worldwide, controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30-plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
Laws and policies that put us in this predicament is going to be laws and policies that take us out. So when you control the radius of a man or woman's thoughts, you can control the compass of his or her actions because the mind can't do a piece what it doesn't know.
We have it all on 910 AM Superstation. 910, the Superstation. Detroit's only African-American talk radio.
Welcome back to the African History Network Show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, August 29th, 2021, and we are live and we're monitoring Hurricane Ida hitting New Orleans as well. New Orleans was without power Sunday night, August 29th, as Hurricane Ida battered southeastern Louisiana on the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. The city said the Entergy utility suffered catastrophic damage to a transmission line. I'm looking at the live updates here from the Washington Post, so we'll try to give you some updates throughout the show dealing here with Hurricane Ida. Knocks out power in New Orleans as it charges inland. Hurricane Ida slammed the coastline Sunday as a Category 4 storm, then weakened to a Category 3 storm with 125 mile per hour winds. The storm is unleashing damaging wind gusts over 80 miles per hour in New Orleans, along with flooding rain. As the storm charges inland, destructive winds and flooding rain could extend more than 100 miles through Baton Rouge. Okay, so we'll give you another update at the top of the hour. All right, now, On the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So if you think you are an N-word, you're going to allow people to call you that and respond when they call you that as well. If you think you are a H or a B or a thought or what have you or whatever, you're going to respond accordingly. And I think it's an insult when people call you by those dehumanizing names as well. As Dr. Joy DeGruy said in Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, you relabel a people to then justify the mistreatment of a people. You put negative pejorative terms on people to justify mistreating those people, to absolve yourself of any responsibility, absolve yourself of any guilt, because you know you wouldn't treat your own people like that. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Now, visit our website, also AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the 10-week online course I teach on Saturdays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. We do this on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We deal with about a little more than 100-year period of history. Each class we go through and analyze about a 10-year period of history to see what happened to us after the Civil War ended, what were the laws and policies put in place to put us in the predicament we're in today. So as soon as you register for that class, you can watch. We have classes. We do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded and archived. So as soon as you watch it, you can watch the class we just did this past weekend. All right. So the class is regularly $130, on sale $80. Okay. I want to go to this first story here. And we're going to go to clip 1 here in just a second, Jalen. So cue that one up, please. All right. So there was this disturbing story out of Salinas, California. All right. And I saw articles from Black Enterprise, and I saw articles from different news outlets with this story here. 3 students suspended for racist acts at Salinas High School football jamboree. 3 students suspended for racist acts at Salinas High School football jamboree. Now, this piece right here from KSBW Channel 8 Action News in Salinas. This is from August 27th, Friday, August 27th. Okay. But 3 students have been suspended in connection to racist incidents that took place at last week's Salinas High School football jamboree. According to sources familiar with the matter, 2 of the students were Hispanic and 1 was African American. They were accused of making the racist dial and Instagram page, which showcased students posing with the dial. A white Salinas High School cheerleader who took a photo with the dial has been kicked off the cheer team. Okay, has been kicked off the cheerleading team. The incident happened. So if you ask, okay, what actually happened? The incidents happened on Friday at a jamboree event involving a black doll, a black baby doll, that students stomped on, drove over, brutalized, and then posted it all over social media. The doll was named Shaniqua. The doll was named Shaniqua. Quote, they drew they drew crosses on the eyes. They put a bandana around her neck and was spinning her around, and they put an ankle monitor, and it's just really disgusting. They put an ankle monitor on her like she was like in the prison system. And it's just really disgusting, said Julian Henderson, a Salinas High School senior. Now, the doll was brought out during Friday. This would have been Friday, August 20th. The doll was brought out during Friday's football jamboree at the Salinas Pit. Cheerleaders took pictures with the doll, and by the weekend, the video of the doll had gone viral and was all the talk on social media. An Instagram account was made for the doll. Okay, now from my understanding, the Instagram account has been deactivated. Okay, now why is this getting so much attention, you may ask? Oh, it's just entertainment. They didn't mean anything by it. You know, black people call each other the N-words all the time. They didn't mean anything by it. You got, you know, dehumanizing songs like from DaBaby that talk about dehumanizing African Americans. What's the problem? Now, the incident and the social media post quickly circulated among students in Salinas, but the racism garnered national attention after a TikTok video about the doll went viral. The video, which was posted by TikTok user Kimberlim, received more than 31,000 views and 700 comments, even after it was taken down and had to be reposted. On Instagram, a reshare of the video by Monterey County protest got more than 18,000 likes and nearly 1,000 comments. Now, the story has been covered by national news outlets like the Los Angeles Times and Newsweek. I want to go to this clip here from KSBW8 Action News. This is a clip of there was a meeting that parents had with administrators earlier this week. Okay, let's go to clip one, Jalen.
The last night's meeting, a lot of calls to the board, not only as for last week's behavior, but also what they said was ongoing racism at Salinas High.
Action News 8 reporter Brittany Nielsen continues our team coverage. Last night, local leaders, parents, and most notably students stepped forward with emotional pleas for the Salinas Union High School District to go deep and end racism and white privilege at Salinas High. We wanted to show you some of the powerful moments from last night's more than 4-hour meeting.
I will not feel comfortable going to school with kids who think stomping on a doll is like you're representing what you want to do to me and others. So now you're expecting me to walk in the hall and put a smile on my face and act like nothing's wrong when kids are over here. Look, it's like what else do you want to do to me? You're hurting a doll. I can only imagine what they're thinking in their head when they see me.
Just like me, first generation Hispanics, they had to put up with that same situation in the past, as well as many people here who go back to your childhood and it drags you right back down. Not my kid, man. We treat them better. We teach them better. You know, the culture is that. The teachers should have stopped it. The administrators that were there should have stopped it. The coaches should have stopped it.
What is most appalling is that clearly racist behavior such as this is part of a disturbing pattern at Salinas High School. Behavior that has gone unpunished and unaddressed. This is targeted and predetermined behavior that took place on school grounds and should be met with swift and direct action by administration. While I understand that nobody in this room wants to label their child a racist, behavior like what we witnessed taking place on social media is beyond the realm of kids being kids. The students need to be held accountable, and if that is unacceptable to anyone in this room, then it must be on the adults in the room to take accountability and understand that Salinas High School, as it stands, is not a safe learning environment for students of color.
As an educator, it's not my job to teach your kids to not be a jerk. Because the bottom line of this, because we are talking about humanity, period. We can talk about black and white. We can talk about black, white, yellow, purple, green, all of that. But it's humanity. It's the humane treatment of people. Not people of color, but people, period. You use these dolls as play, as imaginary play to teach your children empathy. to teach your children how to socialize. There's a gap in learning for these students, and I can't wait until the restorative justice happens.
The African American and Mexican community was attacked on Friday. It was an attack on the Mexican community, the African American community. It was an attack. I know a school district, like I said, I went to school in the school district. Which is quick to expel gang members. I need that same energy that racism there.
We have additional coverage on the racism, including how the incident first came to light, as well as the national attention it's received. That's on our website, KSBW.
Okay. Yeah, that's at their website. The website is ksbw.com. Okay, so that is from KSBW Channel 8 Action News in Salinas, California. Black Enterprise has a article about this also. In this picture they got from I think that's a still photo from the video. That's from Black Enterprise. Now, if we go back to the article from KSBW, okay, I want to go back to this one. They asked a question. So this has gained national attention. They asked the question, how are students responding? Now, on Tuesday, August 24th, the Salinas Union High School District held a board meeting focusing on the Racist Act. All right. So that was an excerpt of what took place at the board meeting. Students, parents, and activists all came together at the board meeting. Enough people showed up that an overflow section was set up outside of the board meeting. Many who spoke Tuesday night said they are hoping for accountability and beyond that, real change. Accountability and beyond that, real change. Now, Salinas Union High School District Superintendent Dan Burns said action will be taken against students involved. They will face consequences in our district that include but are not limited to suspension from school. Okay. All right. Now, let's see here. There was another article. So 3 students have been suspended. Okay. And there was also another article from this one here's from August 27th. There was one from August 24th from the Monterey Herald, racist incident at Salinas High School addressed. This one here from KSBW is a more updated article. We talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. All right. Dr. Avis Jones, the Weaver, who you see on the Black News Channel, and she's also a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered. She was guest hosting for Roland. Roland was in Florida. Where was it, Roland? He was in Florida. He was in Florida. Okay. I think he was in Florida. Let's go to this clip, Jalen. Let's go to clip 2.
3 California high school students have been suspended after a video of them abusing a black doll named Shaniqua goes viral. In the video, several students from Salinas High School are seen abusing the black doll and placing the toy in sexual positions. Parents say this is not the first time an incident of this caliber has occurred in the school or the district. In a statement, the Salinas Union High School District condemned the terrible act and said in part, the SUHSD does not condone this type of behavior, and although the district has taken steps to support our African-American students and staff, this recent incident demonstrates how much more support is needed. We urge families to also take time to talk with their students about the damaging effects of racist behavior. Counseling is available at all of our school sites for any students who may need support. Racism and racial injustice are in direct opposition to the district's values. Our district will continue our efforts to show that racism and racial injustice have no place in our schools. We are committed to maintaining a safe, positive school environment where all students, staff, parents, guardians, and community members are treated with respect and dignity. Members of the Salinas High School community and the general public continue to swarm social media and online platforms to express their frustration. Bringing back the panel to discuss this. You know, Kelly, when I saw this story and I saw the degree to which they were not only harping physical abuse on this doll, but also sexual abuse on this doll, it really made me think about the degree to which the Black body has historically been dehumanized in this country, both with regards to physical violence and sexual violence, irregardless of sex, right? So, you know, what does this tell us about the fact that we like to think that the younger generation is going to be so much less racist? But honestly, it doesn't look like it, does it?
It doesn't, but that's also evidence of racism being taught, because it's not like you're born a racist. This is evidence that at home, issues such as race and teaching your children about cultural differences and racial differences and embracing humanity as a whole, those are not discussions being talked about at the kitchen table with these white families. You're talking, when you said that, you know, it's evidence of our bodies being dehumanized. Specifically, it is evidence of Black women being hypersexualized, dehumanized, and frankly, disregarded. And the overquoted but ever so relevant quote from Malcolm X being, "The Black woman is the most disrespected in this country." I mean, that rings true here. This is disturbing on so many levels, because it's not like this was a human blow-up doll. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that would have been any better, but the fact that this is representative of a child, and they're doing this to a doll that is representative of a Black child, that shows you just how insidious and how ingrained their racism is. And these kids, I'm sure they just saw it as a joke. You know, they see stuff on TikTok all the time. They see the lax approaches to race in their own families and in their environments. They probably didn't think this was a big deal outside of it being a joke. But that in itself is a problem, you know. And there have been plenty of studies regarding just interacting with dolls and what that says about human behavior. I mean, going so far back as Brown versus Board, the doll test regarding that. And there have been doll tests since then that have shown how we interact as humans when, you know, like how we interact in regards to how we treat the doll. So the fact that they saw this child, this Black child, and they did this to a Black child as they themselves are children, that part is more disturbing to me than the fact that they just, you know, trashed the toy. It's more insidious than that. There's layers to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, there are layers to it. And before the break, Mike, we were just talking a minute ago about critical race theory, and to me, one of the more interesting arguments that I oftentimes hear from those on the right who are saying, "Oh my goodness, critical race theory, we don't need that in school. It's making our kids feel as if they're the bad guy. And by the way, my kid's not racist, and we're just teaching them that they're going to be racist." Hell, these kids are racist. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Okay, somebody needs to teach them something. I mean, what do you think this tells us about what's lacking in our school system? Because I agree with Kelly. It came from someplace. It came from home. So at some point, there needs to be an intervention. Why not have that intervention be embedded in our educational system?
Well, yeah, it should be embedded in our educational system. And just for clarification and support for people to understand that critical race theory is not taught in K through 12. That's a legal analysis based on taught in grad school.
I took the class.
Okay.
I did too. It's not.
What'd you say, Kelly?
No, I was saying I took, that's a law course. I took the class.
Right, exactly. So see, this whole fight over critical race theory is just to put under an umbrella critical race theory.
saying that white conservatives don't like dealing with race and systemic racism and slavery. Okay, now it's important for people to understand. Let me just dissect this quickly. The dehumanization of African people has always been entertainment for this country. You go back to 1828, 1829, T.D. Rice, Thomas Dartmouth Rice creates the Jim Crow character, and he puts on blackface and tattered torn clothing and adopts a Southern dialect to dehumanize and lampoon and imitate enslaved Africans. Okay, and the minstrel shows become the most popular form of entertainment in this country. You go to 1916. There's a man named Harry C. Brown who recorded a song on Columbia Records called N-Word Love a Watermelon, Ha Ha Ha. That's the name of the song. It becomes a big hit. It's on YouTube. You can listen to it. So the history of this country, the history of slavery has to be taught in every school across this country, because what we're seeing is we're seeing a dehumanization of African Americans that is replicated in media. Okay, I'm about to take it there. The only reason why R. Kelly allegedly was able to do what he did allegedly is because the majority of his alleged victims were black women and black girls. Because if he was outside of a high school, allegedly talking to 15, 16, 17-year-old white girls, that would have stopped years ago. Okay, period. He would be in prison or somewhere else. There's all this to it. But when you have African women who are looked at as the most disrespected women in America, okay, this is how something like this is able to happen. This is the reason why you would never have any type white female stars do a song like Rump. White corporations, white record companies would not let Taylor Swift, they would not let no white woman do a song like Rump. And the bass line says there's some whores in this house. That's how they think of us. That's why they're able to do it. And if you don't believe me, all you got to do is look at the fact that there was an online petition that a bunch of white people put together to have Kylie Jenner, who's a billionaire and white, digitally removed from the video. The reason why is because they were trying to rescue her, because you only protect what you respect. You only protect what you respect. So you let those Negroes be the whores in the house. You let those Negroes do stuff like that, because that's how they think of us. Lastly, if you read the details of this doll, the doll's face was reportedly altered to give it the appearance of having abnormally big lips and a facial tattoo. Okay, so the lips is a stereotype, once again, of African Americans, and we saw that in the minstrel shows. We saw that in the Amos and Andy radio show, things like that. So, yeah, you got to deal with this history. We have to call this out. And I want to see what type of discipline is going to happen, and how is the school district going to make sure nothing like this happens in the future either.
You know, that's an excellent point, because, you know, the school district, Adrian, put out a nice little statement that I think they hope is going to keep them out of the damn courthouse lawsuits, okay? They put out a nice little statement. But there's nothing in the statement about what is actually going to happen to the students who are engaged in this abusive and racist behavior.
Right. All right, pause right there, Jalen.
Okay,
pause it right there. Yeah, so the students, 3 students were suspended. Now I'm trying to get updates. Okay, what does suspension mean? How long are they suspended? Are they suspended at home, or are they suspended in detention? Because suspending them at home for some students is a vacation. For other students, I mean, depending upon whether they like their parents or not, it could be worse than going to school. I don't know. But back in the day, you used to have to go to detention. Okay. Yeah. So for suspension, see, they should have to like paint the school. They should have to report to detention and do suspension and detention, not at home where they can watch TV and play games and do things like that. We'll go to the phone lines here in just a second. But see, they talked about the exaggerated lips, right? It deals with this here in the story. They put crosses on the eyes. They drew crosses on the eyes. They put a bandana around the neck. It has the exaggerated lips. Now, today, in my class, we dealt with Joie de Piet, Black Pete. Okay, Joie de Piet, Black Pete. And Black Pete is a Moor in a celebration that takes place in the Netherlands. All right. You may see early December each year, you may see articles dealing with this parade that takes place in the Netherlands, and white people put on blackface and Afro wigs and hoop earrings, and they put on attire like the Moors were wearing in Europe in the 18th century. And it's Black Pete coming from Spain along with Sinterklaas. And Sinterklaas is Dutch for St. Nicholas, and Sinterklaas or Father Christmas is the religious figure that the secular figure of Santa Claus is derived from, because Sinterklaas is Dutch, which means St. Nicholas, and Santa Claus means St. Nicholas, coming from that 4th century bishop of Myra in modern day Turkey, Nicholas, who was really an African. When you study the history, he was really an African. But when you read, so for instance, if you look at this article here, I talked about this earlier today, and I do like a 3-hour lecture dealing with the whole history of Christmas and the origins of Christmas, and taking that back to ancient Kemet and Mithra amongst the Persians, and the Roman festival of Saturnalia, and different things like this, and the different influences of Christmas, the Dutch influence on Santa Claus and Sinterklaas, things like this. But if we look at this article here from National Geographic, this notorious Christmas character is dividing a country. This notorious Christmas character is dividing a country. Now, this is from December 6, 2018. All right. And they hold the festival of Joie de Piet, Black Pete, on December 5th. Okay. And one of the things they talk about here is, in the Dutch tradition, Sinterklaas, okay, St. Nicholas, has a helper named Joie de Piet, Black Pete, who usually appears as a blackface character with large gold earrings, because a lot of the male Moors wore large hoop gold earrings, as you see on the national flag of Corsica. National flag of Corsica has a Moor's head, and he has a bandana and a hoop earring. And on the national flag of Sardinia, it has 4 Moor's heads on it. Runoko Rashidi, and we know Runoko passed away August 2nd. Runoko Rashidi, in his book Black Star, the African Presence in Early Europe, on page 91, he shows you the national flag of Sardinia with the 4 Moors heads on it, because the Moors were in both Corsica and Sardinia. All right. And they were conquered, and you have the representation of these African Moors on the national flags. But it says Joie de Piet usually appears as a blackface character with large gold earrings and exaggerated lips. And what you do is, you not just dehumanize, but you disfigure, you make ugly, you exaggerate features that you deem undesirable. You do this on the target of your aggression to then justify mistreating them. They put the doll in sexual positions. Okay. Now I'm about to take it. So I broke it down with WAP. All this is connected. People are trying to compartmentalize white supremacy. You can't compartmentalize white supremacy. White supremacy is a system. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race, coming out of an ideology of European white supremacy and racism. People are trying to compartmentalize white supremacy. You can't do that. Dr. Francis Cress Wilson and Neely Fuller were correct when they said, if you do not understand European white supremacy and racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you think that you understand will totally confuse you. Okay, now, let me show you this here, and then we'll go to the phone lines, because I got to get this in. If you've been watching my show for any length of time, you've heard me talk about Nicki Minaj and the Wax Museum, right? Nicki Minaj and the Wax Museum. And and back a few years ago, the Root.com had an article about this. There was a wax museum. There was a wax museum image, Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. They did a statue of Nicki Minaj. Okay, the statue was of Nicki Minaj from her Anaconda video, which is really soft porn. Okay, her Anaconda video. And they show her bent over, bent over, scantily clad. Now, to be fair, Nicki Minaj approved of the image, approved of the statue, which shows how, at least at the time, crazy she was to do that. But then something strange happened, right? Some people who went to go see the statue started molesting the statue. There are stories written about people who were molesting the statue of Nicki Minaj, like this idiot right here. I don't know his name, but we're going to make his ass famous. Like this idiot right here. There were people who were doing to Nicki Minaj what those students were doing to that dollar Shaniqua. There was one picture of a woman with dollar bills acting like Nicki Minaj was a stripper. If you go through and research this, they showed them grabbing her behind, doing all types of sexually explicit things to her. Why would you think that's acceptable? Why would you think that's acceptable? Does it maybe have something to do with the way that at least white corporations present Nicki Minaj that make you think it's acceptable? When you go study the story, people were abusing it so much they had to hire security guards to stand around a wax statue to keep people from sexually abusing a wax statue of a black woman. And Negroes want to sit up talking about this just entertainment. Yeah, they're laughing at your dumb ass. Let's go to the phone lines, Jalen. Who we have line one? We got Stan.
Hello?
Yeah. Hey, welcome to the African History Network show. Thanks for holding. Who's this? Is it Stan?
Yes, it is. Stan.
Okay. We coming up on a break, Stan. I'm gonna hold you over, but go ahead and start with your comment. We're gonna hold you over the break, okay?
Okay. My subject is this artist by the name of Weeknd.
Okay, the artist, The Weeknd from Canada, right? He's from Canada, right?
Yep. Canada, Ethiopian brother.
Mm-hmm.
I first came aware of him about a couple years ago when I was in Canada, and I saw a video that I can't find here in the United States, even though some of his videos here are very disturbing. But the one that was in Canada, he actually buried a black woman alive and you know, wrapped her up in plastic, take the mouth up, and buried her alive. And it was very vivid.
Okay. Hold the line. We're coming up on a break. Stan, we're going to hold you over the break, and we'll come right back to you after the break. Okay, stand by. All right, you listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, we'll be back in a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting, LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour Zoom tech consultation and know we offer top nationwide high-speed internet service providers, voice over IP, and cellular phone services. Home users, don't miss our current in-stock Chromebook inventory. Please visit us at jcwcc.com or call 215-879-6701.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustler Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our story, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
Whatever's disseminated becomes imitated. This is what I'm trying to explain to people. I've been studying media for 30 years. This is programming.
Unfortunately, many people confuse what racism is. Racism is a power structure. There was laws and policies that put us in this predicament. It's going to be laws and policies.
We're the only people that accept nonsense like that.
Man or woman's thoughts. You can control the compass of his or her actions because the mind can't do what teach what
and then think it's okay.
On 910 AM Superstation. WFDF Farmington Hills, Detroit, 910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, August 29th. 2021, and we are live. The call-in number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, we're going to go back to the phone lines in just a second here. Okay, let's go back to Stan. We were talking to Stan right before the break. Stan, thanks for holding. Go ahead and finish your comment.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring attention to that the artist.
The weekend.
Because, I think he's really been under the radar for the type of videos that he puts out. If you watch his videos, he's got a voice like Michael Jackson. He moves like Michael Jackson. He's got an innocent voice. Mm-hmm. But his videos, every video I've seen in the United States and the ones in Canada are much more explicit. But every video I've seen in the United States, there's a black woman in there. He moves all the way up to murdering them. And typically they're always dark-skinned women. There's always women in his videos, but the only ones that he comes up to the edge of murdering them are black women.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I've seen a few of his videos. I see a few of his videos. I'll go back and take a look at that also.
Yeah, please do. And I think the word needs to get out because he's a top artist. Mm-hmm. He's not really as popular with African Americans, but he's definitely popular across the world.
Yeah.
And I think he did the Super Bowl last year.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, brother. Okay. Thanks for calling. Stan. Hey, where you calling from, Stan? Where you calling from? Okay, we lost Stan. Okay, I want to know where he's calling from. And then also he mentioned Michael Jackson. Today is Michael Jackson's birthday. We know Michael Jackson passed away June 25th, 2009, but Michael Joseph Jackson was born August 29th, 1958, the greatest entertainer of all time. Many people say Michael Jackson. The day is Michael Jackson's birthday, August 29th, 1958. The day is also the birth date of one Isabel Sanford, George Weezy Jefferson. I was watching Jefferson's last night on TV One. Isabel Sanford was born August 29th, 1917. She was born the same year as the silent march in 1917, with 10,000 African Americans were marching down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. fighting for a federal anti-lynching law. Okay, federal anti-lynching bill. But Isabel Sanford, today's her birthday also. The National Music Society, National R&B Music Society, Inc., they have some information about Michael Jackson. We shared this on our social media platforms today, or on Facebook, our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. So August 29th, 1958, the birthday of the king of pop, Michael Jackson. All right. So let's go back to, I want to go back to this clip here. I'm sorry, not to the clip. I was able to find the article I was looking for from dealing with Nicki Minaj. And this deals with the Wax Museum. So there was an article from August 20th, 2015. Everybody go read this article. This is from theroot.com. I'm not a big fan of The Root, but every now and then they have a good article or two. Nicki Minaj wax figure reduces famous rapper to famous rump. Nicki Minaj wax figure reduces famous rapper to famous rump. Okay, now, I'm not against women being in tune with their sexuality. I'm not in, I mean, I've said this before. I think I can say it on the radio. I mean, nobody loves a WAP more than I do. But also, I mean, there's some limitations on like how you the lyrics and the imagery. There's limitations there. I mean, hey, look, come on now. I mean, so, but anyway, so you have this image here, and this is the Wax Museum. You got this African-American woman with I guess they're dollar bills, look like dollar bills. There may be some 10s and 20s in there, something like that. But she acts like she's at the strip club. She's reducing Nicki Minaj down to a stripper. Okay. And when you go research this, read this article and go research this. And there was so much abuse to this statue that Madame Tussauds Wax Museum had to hire security guards to stand around and protect a wax statue of a black woman. They had to, so it takes us to, and there are other images here you can show. I'm not going to show some of the other images, but there are other images that you see of them dehumanizing the statue of Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is a multimillionaire. And they're doing that to a statue of her. How do you think how do you see? There's something called adultification bias. See, this is what's so dangerous about negative corporate control hip hop. And I dealt with this. If you go to my Facebook page and YouTube, and you know what we'll probably do, we'll probably put the video that I did a panel discussion with some sisters, Herb Alchemist, who's a positive hip hop artist, Heck of a Mecca, and Jade Arendelle. We'll probably put that video on the homepage of our website, so it's easy for you to see it. And it was a panel discussion. It was about an hour and a half that we did, and it was back in August 2020. The song WAP, and I'm not picking on them. I'm talking about the white people behind WAP. This was financed by Atlantic Records. See, we got to understand that you have white people financing negative corporate controlled hip hop that's destructive to African Americans, and they use African Americans to market this to us. So they use two women of African descent to market a song that part of the song is really, if you go to azlyrics.com and read the lyrics, the explicit lyrics, it's really promoting prostitution. If you listen to the lyrics. So most of the criticism is not on Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, even though there's a small portion of it there. It's the people who allow this and finance it and market it. Atlantic Records. Because they wouldn't let a white woman do this. They wouldn't let a Taylor Swift or any top white female artist. They wouldn't finance a white woman doing this. And the bass line says approximately 79 times there's some H's in this house. Because they understand was that whatever's disseminated becomes imitated. They understand the programming. So read this article here from The Root. And let me go to the next topic here, because we got other topics to get to in this show. I'm going to do a follow-up. I want to get some more information here dealing with this story, because with the 3 students suspended for racist attacks at Salinas High School. One, I want to find out, okay, they're suspended for how long? What does that mean? Does that mean they stay at home? Do they have to do homework during suspension? Do they have to come to school and clap erasers? Do they have to paint the school? What does that mean, suspension? Number one. Number two, I want to get a clarification here, because it says 3 students have been suspended in connection to racist incidents that took place at last week's Salinas High School football jamboree, according to sources familiar with the matter. 2 of the students were Hispanic and 1 was African American. They are accused of making the racist dial and Instagram page, which showcased students posing with the dial. A white Salinas High cheerleader who took a photo with the dial has been kicked off the cheer team. Okay, so I want to get to the bottom of this. How many students were actually involved? How many students were involved in abusing the dial? What's going on? If Negroes were involved in abusing the dial, they should be suspended also. They need to have a deprogramming session, because nothing is more dangerous than a certified Negro that's still under warranty. I'm gonna be honest. Dr. Layla Africa said in Hidden Colors 4, nothing's more dangerous than a certified Negro that's still under warranty. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to hold on, let me see, where are we now? Okay, let's go to Jerome. Okay, Jerome, line 2. Jerome, welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Detroit, Michigan. Thank you for taking my call.
Okay.
Actually, I was supposed to call you back on this a couple of months ago. We were talking about critical race theory and about school. But I got a statement and a question.
Okay.
But, first of all, no student should be able to graduate from any institution or public school or institution without knowing our story in its entirety, with all of its graphics.
You said with all of his graphics?
You're talking about critical.
Did you say with all of his graphics?
All of his graphics.
Okay.
With all of his graphics.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to make money in the rap business over 30 years ago. I turned it down because of this reason.
Right.
But we were talking about critical.
Hey, just a second, Jerome. Are you on a speakerphone or a Bluetooth earpiece? Huh? Say it again. Your voice is kind of muffled, so it's hard to hear you because we're going through. Your voice is kind of muffled. Are you on a speakerphone or a Bluetooth earpiece? Jerome. Did we lose Jerome?
Jerome is still there.
Okay, Jerome. Did you put it on mute? Okay, we couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. We were talking about the last time I called you. We were talking about critical race theory.
Right.
And I was saying that both parties are working together. When we were talking about the Vice President from Tim Scott saying America's not a racist country, and I was about to let you know that you can't tell me that they didn't practice, proofread, and approve of those speeches and did not know the outcome, because most people that knows anything about the music business knows that people only remember sound bites. And if you fast forward to Georgia's first words of their resolution was America's not a racist country, and 16 other states followed with the same language. The president, along with the Republicans, opened up the floodgates for critical race theory.
Which president?
And what really needs to happen is
which president? Which president? Because it was the executive order from Donald Trump in September 2020 that attacked critical race theory, where all this stuff started. So, which president are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring to Joe Biden, because you can't tell me that they didn't practice and proofread those speeches and didn't know the outcome. I don't care what she said afterwards. She helped the white community when she said America is not a racist country.
What did she say after that? What did she say after that?
Well, she tried tried to clean it up. But
no, she wanted to explain. Let me ask you a question. The interview that George Stephanopoulos did with Vice President Kamala Harris was about 6 minutes. Did you see the entire interview?
Yes, I did.
Because if you saw the entire interview, at the beginning of the interview, she talked about Joe Biden dealing with white supremacy and white supremacists. That's in the same interview. If you look at what she said after that, slow down. If you look at what she said after that, she talked about dealing with racism in this country and calling racism out in this country as well. That's in the same 6-minute interview. Vice President Senator Tim Scott is dealing with something different, because Senator Tim Scott, Black Tea Party Republican from South Carolina, really does not want to acknowledge that racism exists, and he represents a party that many of them are saying systemic racism does not exist. And then that Sunday, that interview was on the Thursday. That Sunday, Tim Scott was on Face the Nation attacking the $4 billion in debt relief for Black farmers and Native American farmers and Hispanic farmers, because the senior senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, was on Fox News calling that debt relief reparations and saying it was racist. So this is something much bigger. And then when you look at what Senator Tim Scott said after that line, talking about America's not a racist country, which is their overall attack on, what they label critical race theory. They can't tell you what critical race theory is. What Republicans are doing is they're taking everything that they don't like dealing with racism, systemic racism, slavery, things like this, and put it under an umbrella of critical race theory. They have no clue what critical race theory is, because it's not taught in K through 12 schools. But the next line he said it was wrong to use something like race specific laws or something to address racism. Okay. Because what they're really saying is they don't want to address systemic racism in this country, and they want to act like it doesn't exist. Okay, that's what they're doing. And the speech that Tim Scott delivered, that was the rebuttal on behalf of Republicans to the speech that Joe Biden gave. That's what people have to understand. The speech that he gave, when you go through and dissect it, that speech was about 15, 16 minutes. That speech is the ideology of the white nationalist party, also known as the GOP. Go ahead with your last statement, because we're coming up on a break.
Well, I understand that, but I still say that people only remember sound bites.
Well, that's a problem with the people. That's a problem with the people.
Now,
that's why shows like this are important to dissect that information. That's why shows like this are important to dissect that information, because people don't go and read the whole speech or listen to the whole speech that Senator Tim Scott gave, and they don't listen to the full interview that Vice President Kamala Harris gave, and they don't read the full statements and articles. They have to read the full statements as well, because you make false equivalencies and you'll get hoodwinked. You'll make false equivalencies and you'll get hoodwinked. We can't allow that to happen.
Well, the president needs to issue executive orders just to tell the rest of his story, which will automatically include our story. And there will be no need for any discussion about critical race theory. So he needs to do
There's not a need for discussion of critical race theory now. They're making this up. Republicans in 2019, critical race theory wasn't an issue. Critical race theory was created decades ago, like going back to 1960s. It's manufactured and is being hyped by Fox News, OAN, things like this. Critical race theory is not an issue. But thanks for calling back. Thanks for calling back. We're up against a break. Okay. When we come back from the break, we're going to go to, I got to get these other topics in. So the March on Washington, the 58th anniversary of the March on Washington took place on Saturday in Washington, D.C. Now, there were two marches. You had one Reverend Al Sharpton and his group and Martin Luther King III. Then you had one Black Voters Matter, Latasha Brown and others. And they're both fighting for the same thing. Okay. So organizers for the march, organizers for March on for voting rights said the event is a way to demand, quote, that elected officials protect democracy, denounce voter suppression, and ensure fair, easy access to the vote for all through the passage of comprehensive federal legislation, end quote, according to their website. Now, August 28th also marks the 58th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. August 28th, 1963, it was about 250,000 people marched in Washington, both African Americans and white people, and witnessed. So this article here, NBC News, witnessed Dr. King deliver his "I Have a Dream" speech in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Once again, as I said at the top of the show, I wish people, dude, they ain't like that's the most important speech in history. It's not, because first of all, his speech, "I've been to the mountaintop," is a better speech than this one here. Secondly, it's a more important speech. Third, Dr. King was the last speaker on that day. Some people had already left. That speech was not a major speech back at that time. It was only years later it became a major speech. Now, we know this past Tuesday, the House Democrats marked the anniversary by passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. John Lewis, but they asked, A. Philip Randolph asked John Lewis to tone down his speech that he was giving because John Lewis was going to call out President Kennedy. Okay, John Lewis. So it's like people just keep focusing on Dr. King on that day. No respect to Dr. King. It's like, ain't like he was the only speaker. So the vote was 219 to 212. 212 Republicans voted no on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Okay. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought-after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip-hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid Al Hakim directly at 313-645-4197, 313-645-4197, or visit their website at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. That's blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com, bhistory101@yahoo.com.
910, the Superstation, the oldest radio station in town since 1922.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, August 29th, 2021, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Okay, we've talked about this article before. Go back and watch the videos where I've done gone through this ad nauseum. All the evidence is there. Read this article here from the Washington Post. Senator Tim Scott's comments on race ignite fiery debate. I went through this and broke this down step by step by step. This is from April 29th, 2021, Washington Post. This was the rebuttal speech. This was the GOP rebuttal to Joe Biden's speech to a joint session of Congress. Okay, this was so Tim Scott delivered the speech, but it's the GOP rebuttal. Tim Scott said, "Hear me clearly, America's not a racist country." He then went on. See, people missed the most important thing that he said in the speech. Most important thing Tim Scott said in the speech was what he said next. He said, quote, "It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination, and it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present." Because Tim Scott has been attacking the $4 billion in debt relief for African-American farmers and Native American farmers and Latino farmers. Tim Scott is against reparations. Lindsey Graham is against reparations. Lindsey Graham has been attacking this. The Republicans don't want to deal, they don't want to have policies that address systemic racism, because many Republicans say systemic racism doesn't exist. Therefore, they're saying if you have policies to address systemic racism, then the policies are racist. The remedy, they're calling the remedy racist, okay, and don't want to deal with that. Read this full article here. This is from the Washington Post. All right, now I want to go to this next story here. So NBC News, we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday. Dr. Avis Jones, the Weaver, was sitting in for Roland. I'll share that segment on Monday's show. Okay, we'll share that on Monday's show because I didn't have time to go through it, and we're only here for 2 hours on Sunday. I want to go to this clip here. Now, NBC Nightly News dealt with the March on Washington, okay, and then also Alex Witt on MSNBC dealt with it as well, the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. Now, it's important for people to note there's a kind of a disconnect, I think, between what mainstream media is saying and what activists are saying. Because the activists are saying, look, we ain't here trying to remember something. We're not really here commemorating something. We're here dealing with the fight that's going on right now. Because I looked at some of the coverage, mainstream media, MSNBC, and I looked at this stuff, and they keep associating this with Dr. King and I Have a Dream speech, and they ain't really talk about what the speech was about besides voting rights. But if we look at this piece here from NBC News, thousands expected in Washington, D.C. to march for voting rights. Okay. And I'm going to pull this up here. This comes after 212 Republicans voted no on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. After many of these Republicans in the House of Representatives sat up there and cried when John Lewis died and talked about how great he was and how they're going to miss their friend and all this stuff. And this is what I said early in the week when the bill passed. I think it was Tuesday night on Tuesday's show. I said, you can't spend 364 days out of the year dismantling John Lewis' legacy or dismantling Dr. King's legacy, and then you want to show up to the commemoration of the March on Washington, or you want to show up to Dr. King Day, the Dr. King Day celebration and things like that. Okay, when you have people like this, especially Republicans, but they could be Democrats, it could be independents, whoever it is. When you have people like that, you got to call their behinds out. You have to call them out. You can't work year round dismantling Dr. King's legacy and then show up to the corporate sponsored breakfast honoring Dr. King, and then you're going to get up there and say a few words. Now, we need to tear your ass up. Bottom line. It needs to be no holds barred to deal with what you've been doing 364 days out the year. So if we look at this piece here quickly, and then we're going to go to these two clips. And I want to go to this clip dealing with Malcolm X. Organizers for the March on Voting Rights said the event is a way to demand that elected officials protect democracy, denounce voter suppression, and ensure fair, easy access to the vote for all through the passage of comprehensive federal legislation, according to their website. Now, we know the John Lewis Voting Rights Act has a harder fight in the Senate because you're going to need 60 votes, which means you're going to need 10 Republicans to vote for the bill. Because people keep saying Democrats control the Senate. Democrats have a 50-50 majority in the Senate, with Vice President Kamala Harris being a tiebreaker on votes that requires 51 votes to pass. But most bills in the Senate require 60 votes, which means you need 10 Republicans. This is what I was explaining to people. This is what I was explaining to people dealing with the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. This is why I said back in May, when Representative James Clyburn came out with his statements about qualified immunity and saying we don't have to get qualified immunity right now. And then you had people like Tamika Mallory and all these activists, you know, want to call him out and say, no, we got to have qualified immunity, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. Get the rest of the bill passed now. You need 10 Republicans to vote for to remove qualified immunity. Name me 10 Republicans in the Senate that are going to vote to remove qualified immunity. They don't exist. Well, what the hell are we still arguing about then? So then it came out last week. That Democrats, Karen Bass of California, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, negotiating for Democrats with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, negotiating for Republicans. They can't come to an agreement on qualified immunity, so it's not going to be in the bill. They're not going to remove it. I told you that back in May. I told you back in May it wasn't going to work. But people trying to be woke as opposed to focusing on winning. I told you in May that wasn't going to work. Take that BS out. Come back and get it later, or get it or get it after the 2022 midterm election. If you can't get 10 Republicans to vote for the bill, it's not going to pass. Period. You can hallucinate whatever reality you want on whatever type of medicinal marijuana or mushrooms you're using. If you can't get 10 Republicans to vote for the bill, it ain't gonna pass. That's all there is to it. And as I said before, qualified immunity is not the most important thing in the bill. Go back and watch the video we did. Go back and watch the show. I think it was Tuesday's show. People keep talking about qualified immunity. That's not the most important thing in the bill. It means you haven't read HR 1280. Go to congress.gov and read HR 1280. The most important thing in the bill is lowering the federal standard from willful intent down to negligence, which is the standard for the feds to be able to prosecute police officers. Qualified immunity is a civil lawsuit. Nobody's going to prison over that. What's a bigger deterrent is when they start prosecuting more officers in criminal court and convicting them in criminal court, and they go to prison and become felons. And then they're in prison. They can't practice law anymore. They lose certain rights. That's a bigger deterrent than a civil lawsuit. I'm for removing qualified immunity, but if you can't get it passed, take that out the bill, get the rest of the bill passed. There was a fact sheet. There was a fact sheet dealing with the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. People should check out, let me see, George Floyd Justice and Policing Act fact sheet. Yeah, judiciary.house.gov. We went through this early in the week on the show. Go read this. This is at judiciary.house.gov. Okay, this is the House of Representatives official website, house.gov. Go read actually what's in HR 1280. Qualified immunity is what they keep talking about in the media. Okay, they don't tell you that if they remove qualified, if they repeal qualified immunity, then insurance companies are going to start selling police misconduct insurance to cover civil lawsuits, like they sell insurance policies to cities to cover oftentimes police misconduct lawsuits. They're not talking about that. They're not talking about the fact that police unions are going to help them raise money to pay the civil lawsuits. So police officers pay the civil lawsuits. You know that insurance companies are going to start selling police misconduct lawsuits because insurance companies are selling insurance for your dog or your cat called pet insurance if they have to have expensive operations. You think they're not going to sell police misconduct or police liability insurance to 800,000 law enforcement professionals, and they're going to have to buy it to be able to be in law enforcement? Go read the bill. You can go to congress.gov, search for HR 1280, and actually read what's in HR 1280. Qualified immunity is not the most important thing. That's just what they talk about in the media. So people just repeat that nonsense. I said Clyburn was correct back in May. He's correct now. I told you they're not going to come to an agreement on qualified immunity. Why? Because 10 Republicans are not going to vote to repeal it. Most of those Republicans are endorsed by police unions. They're not going to remove that. That's why in the 2022 midterm election, more Republicans had to be voted out of office in the Senate. More of the right type of either Democrats or independents have to be voted into office, so you break that 60 vote threshold. We can debate on the filibuster all we want to, but I don't think they're going to get rid of it. Not in this 117th Congress that was sworn in January 3rd. They may do a carve out to pass the Voting Rights Act. They may do a carve out for that. But I don't think they're going to get rid of it. But what we do know is if you get north of 60, even if Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kristen Sinema of Arizona defect and vote against the Democrats, you still, if you north of 60, if it's like 62, even if those two defect, you still got 60, you can still break the filibuster. You can still get these bills passed. So we have to think long term as opposed to just one election cycle. All right, I want to go to clip number 3 here. This is from NBC Nightly News. This is from August 28th, and this is talking about those involved in the fight for voting rights. Let's go to this clip, Jalen.
Tonight, marches across America demanding protections for voting rights.
We need to be here and let our governments know that we truly believe in the voting rights for all.
And that ways to keep poor people from voting, to keep black and brown people from voting, to keep disabled people from voting. And if you fall into any of those categories, you need to be out here and doing whatever it takes.
In our nation's capital, a show of force with activists and civil rights leaders pressuring Congress to pass legislation that would protect elections and voters at the federal level.
We must remain engaged to create the accountability, the political power that leads to change.
That message landing on the 58th anniversary of the March on Washington, when Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech.
I have a dream.
Today's organizers say 48 states have introduced nearly 400 bills this year, amounting to voter suppression. In Texas, Republican House members just approved a bill banning drive-through polling places and 24-hour voting. Democrats said the legislation would disproportionately affect people of color. The political battles over the right to vote, a reality then and now. Kathy Park, NBC News, New York.
Okay, so that's from NBC Nightly News from August 28th, 2021. Dealing with the 50th anniversary, but the fight continues because, and Reverend Al Sharpton talked about this. Reverend Al Sharpton shows here on the network Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, I agree with him on some things and disagree on other things, but he's correct. He said, dude, we ain't there just to commemorate what happened 50 years ago. He said, we have a fight going on right now. All right. Because oftentimes people just want to be nostalgic and deal with what happened back then. It's like, no, the fight. I said this on Roland Martin Unfiltered Friday. Jim Crow and Jane Crow had children and grandchildren. So we're dealing with the children and grandchildren of Jim Crow and Jane Crow. They're like Bebe's kids. The Bebe's kids are white supremacy. They don't die, they multiply. That's what we're dealing with. And this is One of the mistakes that people make is they think that victories are permanent. No, they're not. This is a fight. This is a battle. It's like the Decepticons and the Autobots, the Transformers. They keep fighting. They've been fighting like, what, 40 years? Okay. It's never over. This is the same thing here. People are always trying to take away what you have. People are always trying to come back and pass laws to suppress you because many times people see your advancement as their regression. They see your advancement oftentimes at their expense. Okay, it's an old saying, when you've had privilege all your life, equality seems like oppression. When you've had privilege all of your life, equality seems like oppression. So we have to engage in political self-defense and perceive these attacks coming and understand how to protect gains that were made while we ward off attacks as well. Because people are trying to always, the gains are not permanent. People are always trying to come back and pass laws to suppress you and reverse your progress and things like that. So we have to be cognizant of that. That's why those people who are posing threats to you and keep voting against your interests and trying to pass laws that attack you, you got to fire them, vote them out of office. You can't let them stay in office and keep doing us harm. That's not even logical. All right. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a quick question or comment. Okay. Do we have Gary on the line? Okay. Okay. Hey, Gary, thanks for holding. Tell us where you're calling from. Go ahead quickly with your question or comment.
Hey, Gary from New Jersey.
Gary from New Jersey.
I'm a student also of Black history, of African history, and I study the patterns of Europeans in terms of, the
colonialism.
Every country, you realize that every country globally at one time or another was invaded by the Europeans. And so when they invade a country, the first thing that they do is impose, a system of first the language, whatever language of the country that's invaded. Mm-hmm. They force the language on the local people, and then they force their religion. Mm-hmm. Then they set up a caste system with a hierarchy with white at the top of the caste system.
Right, like in India.
Done in every,
like in India when the British colonized India.
That's the main place that they try to convince people that the caste originated in India, but the caste is a European word. There's no equivalent of the word caste in any Asian language. Period. It originally was Portuguese word castas. That means race. The word caste means race in English. It's caste, but they set up a caste system in every colony. If you go to Angola, the Portuguese, they started with this caste system, race separation system. In South Africa, for instance, like they had the white at the top, and then they had the Indian second, and then they had what's called coloreds. The coloreds was like a mixed African, a lighter skinned African, person, right? And then the black, he's at the bottom of every caste system like that they set up in every country, and including the United States. Like if you read the notes on Virginia slavery written by Thomas Jefferson, he says that he said the Indians, he said, oh, they stand a chance, he said, but the African, he said, the black is not even human or something. He says, like, there's no way that they can ever be equivalent to a white person,
Okay.
That's what Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
He writes it in his book, what they call the Notes on Virginia Slavery or something like that.
Okay.
But in every It's like whatever country you visit in the world, like if you go around the world, because Europeans are the only people to do so, with the exception of Japan, who briefly they invaded like Korea and parts of China. But there's no other country, like in Africa or whatever, that left their respective country and went to other countries and invaded and raped and plundered and then forced their language and
right.
their and you know that hierarchy of caste system. They forced the caste system. Like if you go to the Pacific, for instance, like whatever island that you visit,
right,
you can tell which European invaded the country by the language that they're
exactly. They impose a language of the oppressor on the oppressed, and it teaches them to see reality through the eyes of the oppressor. Okay, I got it. I got to move on. Gary, do me a favor. Call back tomorrow night because we run out of time here, and I got to get to this other information. Call back tomorrow night. We'll be on 11 p.m. tomorrow night. Right. All right. Thanks for calling, Gary. Thanks. Okay. This is what we're going to do, Jalen. We're going to go to clip 5. Remembering Malcolm X with Wyatt T. Walker and James Farmer. Okay. We're going to go to clip 5. Now, this is from 1993. 1993. All right. This was a 30-year follow-up to the famous debate that took place in June 1963. Okay, June 1963, because it was like the day before, I think it was like the day before or a few hours before Medgar Evers was assassinated. Okay, so here you have 1993, and James Farmer and Wyatt T. Walker, and Richard Hefner was the host of the show Open Lines on PBS. And they came back together to talk about what's happened in the past 30 years, back at the time, what's happened in the past 30 years, the civil rights movement, gains that were made, holding on to gains, all different types of things like that. And they also talk about Malcolm X. Okay, let's go to this clip.
Enterprise, if it does come. But that's you right there. Yeah, but racism can be overcome. We socialize our kids from the beginning of their consciousness to believe that they somehow are superior to people of different cultures, and that being different is somehow being bad. If you do have to be taught to hate, you do have to be taught to be a racist, then it is equally true that you can be untaught. But let me turn that around. Do you believe that you have to be taught to hate? Of course you do. Oh, of course you do. South Pacific was like in that musical. It said, "You have to be taught. They have to be taught. They have to be carefully taught to hate." And it is true. Children, before they are socialized by their parents and their peers and their schools, don't hate people because of differences. So that is the reason, Richard, why so many Americans, white Americans, do not feel or understand that they are racist. They are racist involuntarily. It's the way things have always been, and they think they're being American, and if you're American, you are racist. Now, one of the things about Malcolm was that in his pre-Mecca days, he believed that white racism was genetic. In other words, they had it. God, or Allah, as he would put it, gave it to them, and there's nothing you can do about it. After Mecca, he saw that that was not true. He, in Mecca, saw white Muslims worshiping Allah, kneeling beside him. And he was convinced then that racism, as he has witnessed it in America, was learned and not genetic. And if it is learned, I repeat, it can be unlearned. So, Jim, nearly 30 years ago, you said you thought it would take maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, and you could go fishing. But I remind you of that. Wyatt is right. I'll go fishing in the next life now. Both of us were more optimistic about the possibility of change in American society than we needed to be. And I confess in this redo that Malcolm was more accurate about an assessment of where America was on race than we were at that point in time. Yes, but the funny thing is he began to change his position. Well, Jimmy has been given a very clear analysis of how the two strains of philosophy move toward each other. And I think he's absolutely accurate in that regard. It is that the civil rights movement as we knew it in the 60s, incorporated as a part of it is black identity, Afrocentrism, and Malcolm softened his position about all white people being blue-eyed devils. And that's an absolutely clear and straightforward analysis of what has happened. The side effect has been that with the rise of ethnic pride, somehow, in a bizarre way, the ethnic pride of blacks has induced a climate ethnic communities. It has sharpened their resentment and hostility. I've taught people are not like that. True, too. I do want to emphasize that we made some changes. Wyatt made some changes. The FCIC made some changes. And CORE did, too, in this country. We did wipe out Jim Crow for all practical purposes. We just overestimated the impact that would have on changing the life condition of the black American. And I think it needs to be said, although it doesn't sound like from my earlier comments, it was a significant change. When you consider that segregation, both by mores and by legal fiat, had been in place for nearly 100 years, and our movement in a decade and a half completely dismantled segregation by mores and fiat. Right. So that is a significant, but it did not solve the deeper problem, as Jim has outlined, about racism that was in the body politic of this nation. And I believe that we can solve that problem, too. You think there are going to be those, there'll be Malcolms up there, Malcolm then, when we all were together, nearly 30 years ago, who would say that's more soft-headed thinking. That's more pie in the sky by and large. But the second Malcolm, from the time of his visit to Mecca, they would say that's not pie in the sky, it can be done. Is that so true? That's disillusionment on his part? No, it is true, it can be done, but it has to be done with intentionality and aggressiveness on the part of our government. And our government has never been intentional enough nor aggressive enough on seeing to it that every American citizen is guaranteed the right of access to everything all other Americans have. And I cite as an example the fact that we've had in...
Okay, go to clip 3, Jalen. So that was James Farmer and Wyatt T. Walker. This is from 1993, a 30-year follow-up to the famous debate they had with Malcolm X, June 1963. Okay, go to this clip here for about, we'll go to this clip for about a minute. Go ahead, Jalen.
The climate of America, a change in the position of the Supreme Court where they have all but dismantled affirmative action programs, and you had these so-called anti-affirmative action Supreme Court decisions, you know, and a president whose name I don't want to call, who talked about a quota bill, you know, all kinds of rationales in order to deter and to obstruct the free access of every American to everything all other Americans. Maybe President-elect Clinton, I will call his name, will have a different point of view and will take a stronger stand. Well, he's made it.
All right, pause it right there, Jalen. Pause it right there. Okay. Go watch that. That's on YouTube. We'll probably talk about this some more Monday, because what's missing from this whole conversation with the 58th anniversary of the March on Washington is the Kerner Commission report that came out March 1968, the month before Dr. King was assassinated, that talked about the investment that the U.S. government needed to make to fight poverty, to fight discrimination, to fight racism, all of this. And they talked about the role that white supremacy and racism and locking African Americans out of opportunity had and that resulted in the racial explosions, the rebellions that were taking place across this country in 64, 65, 66, and 67. Okay, very quickly, I want to go to Axe Handle Saturday. Okay, Axe Handle Saturday took place August 27th, 1960 in Jacksonville, Florida. All right, and there's a good article here from one from the Washington Post. We talked about this here before on the show. From the Washington Post, Axe Handle Saturday, the Klan's vicious attack on black protesters in Florida 60 years ago. Okay, so we have this article here from August 27th, 2020. And also there's a good piece from the Equal Justice Initiative, EJI.org. the Equal Justice Initiative. Sit-in demonstrators attacked in Jacksonville, Florida. On August 27, 1960, 16-year-old NAACP Youth Council President Rodney Hurst and dozens of his peers staged a peaceful sit-in protest at a whites-only Woolworth lunch counter in downtown Jacksonville, Florida. Throughout that month, the Youth Council members had successfully organized peaceful sit-ins at Morrison's cafeteria and other prominent lunch counters in the city. On this Saturday, however, the young black demonstrators were violently attacked by a mob of more than 200 white armed people with baseball bats and axe handles. Baseball bats and axe handles. This is why this is called Axe Handle Saturday. August 27th, 1960 in Jacksonville, Florida. The attack began when white onlookers, angered by the demonstration, began spitting on the sit-in protesters and yelling racial slurs at them. When the African-American demonstrators refused to respond and continued sitting peacefully, the violence escalated. The white people beat the demonstrators with wooden axe handles and baseball bats and soon spread into the streets of downtown Jacksonville, Florida, attacking African-Americans indiscriminately. According to reports, members of the Ku Klux Klan organized the Axe Handle Saturday attack, which left more than 50 people injured. As bloodied and battered African-American children fled to a nearby church to seek refuge, many white police officers joined the mob violence, arrested the fleeing civil rights demonstrators, or did nothing. Quote, the intent was to scare, intimidate, and bring physical harm, end quote, Rodney Hurst later recalled. Many times you could not draw a line between the Klan and law enforcement. Many times you could not draw a line between the Klan and law enforcement because law enforcement were at least accomplices to a lot of the things the Klan did, end quote. So read this piece here from EJI.org. They have a picture of them here at the lunch counter here in Jacksonville, Florida. Read this here from EJI.org, Equal Justice Initiative. Sit-in demonstrators attacked in Jacksonville, Florida on Axe Handle Saturday. And then also read the piece from the Washington Post. They have a really good in-depth piece. Now, Donald Trump, the traitor-in-chief, Benedict Donald, he was going to hold a rally in Jacksonville, Florida on the 60th anniversary of Axe Handle Saturday. But he rescheduled out of because of protests. All right. And they show somebody attacked here, African-American attacked here. Read this article as well. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We're here 6 days a week. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills. And then be sure to register for the 10-week online course I teach on Saturdays from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. That's at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. From the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. As soon as you register, you can watch the class we just did this past weekend. We have archive content there. That class meets on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then the other class dealing with understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school, meets Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Right now, it's corrects wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. All right, stand by. All right, everybody. Okay, this is our official Cash App account, $, the AHN Show, SHOW. When you go there, it shows my name, Michael, and it shows my picture. So you can support us there also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. And we have the PayPal information on our website also, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com as well. And you can register for the online courses. I'm going to post a link here. So we do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch them over and over again. You can watch from around the world. We have a live text chat in the classes where you can ask questions as well. You can see me. I can't see you. And as soon as you register, you can start watching the archive content. Okay. So at our website, just click on register here, and it takes you to the next page. Class is regularly $130, on sale $80. It takes you to the next page, and just click on enroll on the next page. And as soon as you enroll, you can start watching the content. Okay, click on enroll. As soon as you enroll, you can start watching the content. All right, we have to get out of here. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Gain knowledge in minutes from insightful summaries of progressive and socially conscious books. Blacklisted gives you access to curated content that'll satisfy your curiosity to learn and understand different perspectives. Empower yourself through inspirational and actionable ideas. It's easy to read or listen to on the go. Blacklisted. Empower yourself. Start your free trial today.
Black on Purpose Television Network. Yes, Black on Purpose Television Network. All black, all positive, all the time. The largest black-owned streaming television network in the world. Bringing our people together worldwide. Controlling our messages, our stories, our way. Black TV the way it should be. Black music, Black history, and more. 30 plus channels, thousands of shows. Black on Purpose Television Network. Subscribe now.
We all know the cannabis industry is headed toward an uprise in the past decade. What happens when there is a brand that brings this uprise in a blow? The cannabis industry welcomes her uprise. Hustle her hemp. Delivering excellence with pride is her watchword, and how you choose to embrace it makes it a priority. From cultivating rich cannabis into exquisite and tastefully finished CBD products to delivery, Hustle Her Hemp leaves no stone unturned. Hustle Her Hemp's mission is to empower women of color by building business and creating legacies, uniting beauty, health, and business. We are a pure definition of how we want the CBD industry to become in the future. While we are redefining innovation, we bring the same energy to improving the quality of life. Hustle Her Hemp is the new uprise.
Hi, I'm Joel Wilson, President and CEO of JCW Computer Consulting LLC, a technology implementation firm with over 20 years of satisfying customers. We offer a full spectrum of industry top-tier branded services. We are an authorized partner or reseller for Lenovo, Zoom, T-Mobile, Microsoft 365 and Surface tablets, Google Workspace, Acer, Asus, Samsung, PCmatic security software, and many more. Our online store features laptops, Chromebooks, computers, printers, accessories, and software. Businesses, take advantage of our free 1-hour